My name is Matt. I am an aspiring professional Magic. I am an aspiring Magic to be professional Magic player, whatever that means. Follow me on my journey to the Pro Tour. I am also an aspiring movie maker as well. I am here today to stream Ponza. My teammate and co-architect, lesser-known co-architect of the Ponza archetype, Michael, sent me his list, his take on Ponza, his style with Bloodbraid Elf. Basically, this is what is called traditional Ponza, I guess, since we're all into the naming thing and delineation thing. This generally plays a little bit more higher end, to where you get rewarded for flipping over mana with Bloodbraid Elf, and you basically play, you kind of set up your mana, you disrupt, and then you just play bomb after bomb. So it's a little bit more, it's difficult to play because you have fewer resources to work with. You're obviously not playing Tracker, and you're not playing Hunt Master, you're not playing any real value engines. So you have to basically make sure that your threats get there. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Previously, a version like this would play something like Bonfire and Beast Within, but since we are playing Bloodbraid Elf, but both of those cards are pretty mediocre to flip off of Bloodbraid Elf unless you're going all in on something like an Anger of the Gods kind of list that goes bigger with 4/4s and stuff, which I will probably talk about next week. So anyway, so generally Michael and I's philosophy on Ponza is mostly the same. I like Tracker a lot more only than he does, only because it gives you a little bit more aggression against the decks where you need to, like there's these turns where against Tron you can play disruption, play a threat, and play a threat like Tracker, then play disruption, play disruption. Against those decks, you have to kind of rely on Kitchen Finks to do that role for you. It's actually kind of weird that early on, before Tracker was a regular addition to the deck, Kitchen Finks would actually come in a lot of those matchups where you were like, wait, I'm not. Why is Kitchen Finks coming in against Combo or against Tron? It's like, well, because you need a cheap threat, so that you don't have to like tap out to play your one threat to start winning the game, and then they just kill you. So the two things that I kind of quibble with, the two things I'm going to miss the most, I think, of playing a version like this as opposed to a version that I normally play, which is like a little bit lower. I do like Tracker. I like the Tracker Pia and Karen kind of interaction. So I usually play 3 to 4 Tracker, 1 to 2 Pia and Karen. But with Bloodbraid Elf, that's completely gone out the window. I don't know what I would play right now, so I'm just kind of trying different things, testing different lists that people send me and all that stuff. So Trinisphere, and so the two things I'm going to miss the most, playing Trinisphere, I think, despite the fact that it's a non-bow with Bloodbraid Elf, it's necessary in a version like this where you have to slow them down. It's a card you bring in against Burn. It's a card that you bring in against the Cascade combo decks, as well as Storm, which I don't know how relevant the combo decks are going to be in the format, but like it's a card that's useful against Burn, and you bring it in against Lantern and 8-Rack and like a few other decks that you will see like those numbers probably aren't going to change a whole bunch. So you like that card, but and then Cage is a card that I like playing Relic a lot. Relic is a card that you bring in against a lot of the like Goyf, Delve kind of matchups, and it does a lot. It's cheap. It can incrementally remove graveyards as well as just completely exile everything all at once. It draws you a card, so it cycles, which is pretty important. Unlike Cage, where you play Cage and it just kind of sits there, and until they choose to deal with it with like a Culligan's Command or whatever, and then with Relic, you also get to shrink Goyfs as opposed to Cage, which doesn't do that. Now, if I had my druthers, I would probably play a 2 cage, 2 relic, like 1 Trinisphere mix. But I don't like Trinisphere in a number less than 3 or 2 generally. It's a card that you want. It's a card that, like, if you pair it, like against Storm, like if you pair it again with Cage and Relic, you can play just 1 Trinisphere because that's like 5 pieces of hate, in addition to your bolts, which also affect them. But like there are just certain matchups where like you can't bring in Cage, but you want to bring in Relic, but you can't bring, you know, like where you want Trinisphere, but you also want one of the other ones, or you want Trinisphere, that's it. Like against Living End, for example, you don't want Cage, you want Relic, and you want Trinisphere, and but so yeah, there's a lot more to be said about this sort of Cage, Trinisphere, Relic relationship. But I'm going to go with the non-bow, the list as Michael sent it to me, as he knows what he is doing, and generally. And let me open up my dashboard. All right, Real JLP. JLP says, I think you could play Tracker or some of the lower curve value things over Chandra or Colossus. Yep, that's possible. Like, I don't believe Michael has played a lot in this new meta. I know that people have been lower on Chandra now that 4 mana walkers are a little bit more vulnerable, so that may be the case. I haven't played enough in this format really to be the judge of that, but that very well could be the case. Let's see, Colossus seems like the 7th and 8th dummy, where you might want some more engine. So I don't know about this slot yet. Beings that, like, Colossus is a threat that is vulnerable to Jace, but with our follow-ups of Blood Raid and Inferno Titan, Blood Raid and Stormbreath Dragon, the curve into dealing with Jace is pretty good for us. So I'd rather have a threat that is good against the like Delve threats and Death Shadow and stuff like that. I'm not yet convinced. I know that Michael previously told me to change these. He had 2 Throns in this slot as opposed to 2 Colossus. But he mentioned that those should be a Colossus. So I'm going to try this out and just kind of see where all these threats fit. Like I said, I don't know what. I don't know where everything fits in the meta exactly, or how much everything has changed. But I'm gonna try it out. Lower the music, please. All right, cool. I will definitely lower the music. Is that a little better? Hopefully that's a little better. All right, and we are not in this league anymore. All right. Let's see. Ponza. All right. So, and I think going forward, please feel free to send me any Ponza ideas that you might have. I think I am actually shifting away from Ponza as being a deck I play in most of my competitive modern events, only because I am not yet convinced. I am convinced it can win an event. I am not yet convinced it can put up the average level, the average number of finishes that I would like to win. I'm not convinced yet that variance isn't a factor. Bloodbraid Elf makes the deck better, but I don't know if it makes the deck tier 1 competitive. Let's just put it that way. So my Ponza streams will be generally focused towards trying out lists, interesting lists that I find. I have another one that I'm sitting on that I've been kind of wanting. I know that Ryan Shaner, another Ponza streamer, has gone away from like the Dark Dwellers package, but he played the Dark Dwellers package in a deck with like not very many hits, whereas like the list I got sent last night had a whole bunch, had like 8 Rains, 3 Beast Withins, 4 Angers, and that's kind of what I want to try, only because like you are set up the best to deal with any Beast Within tokens and stuff, and then you just get like that list is the most capable list of just destroying every single land and leaving your opponent with almost nothing. And I think that that's like a strong enough game plan against some of the other decks that tend to get under you and try to force you to come back from behind, because that's like kind of a dance that you have to do with a deck like traditional Ponza. You have to play hard hits because your game plan can get behind, so you have to play stuff like Bonfire and Inferno Titan to catch up, whereas like a more lower to the curve deck can get ahead of those decks a little bit better, but is a little bit worse when you fall behind. So you have to kind of find that mixture that isn't too weak from behind and isn't too weak from behind, basically. All right, so well, we're gonna have Force Sprawl, Molten Rain, Blood Moon, Stormbreath Dragon. We need another red source, but we've got 2 green and a red, and we'll just go ahead and keep it. It's a good hand on the draw. Basically, the Blood Moon will. Oh, okay, hexproof, awesome. Bogles. All right, that was not what we wanted to draw. All right, but we'll go Forest. And then we are likely to keep them off of most of their plays. Okay, Spirit Dancer, sure. Alright, Blood Moon. This is kind of a challenging match sometimes, because you basically have to like think of this matchup like a faucet. Where basically, like, you have to turn off the faucet, and then you have to turn off the faucet as fast as you can, and then deal with whatever water. And this is the water that we're dealing with. So, awesome. Not double red. Okay. Well, we're in a bad spot, so we literally can't play anything in our hand, so that's fun. Spoon, sure. Yeah, we can't even block it. This is a matchup where Spirit Dancer would, where Trinisphere will come in. Alright, well. Good showing. Alright. We will bring in... So we want Trinisphere and we want Anger. And none of the other stuff comes in. We don't want Bolt. We don't particularly want... So basically we're going to keep the LD stuff. And let's see, I don't particularly care for Chandra. And I like Titan because basically, like, it's like that the you know, going back to the water faucet mentality analogy, Inferno Titan can come down and basically block whatever, you know, if they don't have a Spirit Mantle or something like that. Let's see. How does this deck sideboard? Usually, not having Acid Mosses is also different. I think that Acid Moss is a pretty good... I know the Bloodbraid Elf can do an Acid Moss impression, it just might not do it enough of the time. Spiker says I always get paired against Bogles, and that is absolutely true. Alright, Spiker, what else do I board out? Or in? Let's see. Don't think... Well, let's board out one Bloodbraid Elf, because we're bringing in the Trinispheres. Okay. Would I like to play first? Yes, I would love to play first. Okay. So we've got some land destruction. So there's a good chance that we basically will be able to. So forest, heath, stone rain, molten rain, storm breath, birds. There's a good chance that we'll basically be able to keep them off of the lands that they draw. So go ahead and keep it. And they're going to 6. Okay. Birds pass. Blade cover scout. Okay. We're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna go in and fetch this stomping ground and hit this Reserverge Thicket. Moss being out of the list, lean into black, red, green. LD though, Thoughtseize, Culligan's Command, Blood Moon, Stone Rain package with a BbE at the top, or at that point you just cut the reins and play regular old Jund. At that point, that was a question from Real JLP. At that point, you just play Jund. That's been my conclusion at least. Alright, so we are going to Anger and then play the Arbor Elf as a follow-up here. We can go get the Anger. And play Arbor Elf. I don't want that Ethereal Armor. There we go. Alright, so we'll go ahead and play the Stone Rain. And attack for 1. Cool, Bloodbraid Elf. Alright. Yeah, we'll cast that. Alright. Or do we value turn 2 moon so much? So, so the Real JLP actually, so I've actually been thinking a lot about the relationship between Jund and Ponza and a lot of the other decks in that sort of shard. And what I have determined actually is that you either choose as your, because if looking at decks from a meta analysis, there's like a subsection of cards that are good on turn 1. Like those are your turn 1 plays. Now, the Jund archetype or the Black X archetype, you basically get the Inquisition Thoughtseize as that sort of turn one strategy. Let's just say your turn 1 strategy is Inquisition Thoughtseize. That is at odds with our turn 1 strategy of Arbor Elf, Utopia Sprawl, Birds Paradise, Noble Hideout. And if you try to combine the two, that's why Deathrite Shaman was so valuable, is because you're playing Deathrite, like Thoughtseize, and Spiker says I have to learn to stop talking with your hands so you can continue operate Moto while talking about something else. Yeah. So the problem is that Thoughtseize and Inquisition are almost as bad late game as Arbor Elf, Utopia Sprawl, all that ramp stuff. So you basically, if you throw that stuff in decks together, you're playing a whole bunch of cards that are just bad late game. So you have to choose which strategy you want to go with. Now, the problem with... okay, so Heath, Forest, Mountain, Sprawl, Elf. I'm gonna mulligan because my hand really doesn't do anything. Okay, so all right, Molten Rain, Sprawl, Heath, Command, Stormbreath Dragon, Colossus, LOL. Okay, so Blood Moon, Heath, Stomping Ground, Utopia Sprawl, Stone Rain. Okay, so the thing, and I'm actually formulating a couple theories, you know, that I'm going to put down in article form or whatever. Basically, the range strategies, like you play ramp so that you don't have to disrupt, so you can disrupt a little bit earlier with like 3s, and you play discard for the same reason. And then if you play discard, you get rewarded with cards like Tarmogoyf and Scavengers and Grimflayer and stuff like that, and Delirium cards. So let's see. I can't remember if I topped or bottomed that. Spiker says, "Oh my OMG, that 5 is gas." Yep. So, but yeah. So Jund, like, frankly, your and we're gonna name green on this sprawl. Just so that post moon we have red, red, green, green. So the thing with Jund is that you just get rewarded for playing other cards and not playing ramp, and then you get to also play the package of what was that? I don't know what that was. Oh, that was probably the bottom of my my poster. All right, so you also get the package of you can also play LD in your Jund deck as well with Fulminator Mage and Culligan's Command, and you get to, you know, rebuy that stuff, and you can play Moon if you really wanted to. Let's see, Stomping Ground. All right, well. So there's two conclusions. Either they have 3 lands, and so if they have 3 lands, and I play Blood Moon, like I can't keep them off of Spirit Mantle. But if I play Blood Moon and their land, if I play Blood Moon and their third land is like a non-basic, I can keep them off of Coronet. I think I'd rather Moon will save me some life, so I think I'm just gonna play Moon here. I run the risk of getting Spirit Mantled if they have Spirit Mantle in their hand. Yeah, I'm just going to play the Moon here. Alright, no Spirit Mantle. Alright, yay, Ponza draws. Terrible. Stone Rain, your relevant land. That first strike is rough. So we have 3 turns. I hate Bogles so much. Alright, so we drew a chunk blocker. So we can survive for 1 more turn. Hopefully, you know, Titan is pretty strong here. And we'll just go to 1, it's fine. Molten Molten Rain, LOL. Alright, stomp the ground. Alright. It's Primal Command, or I mean Blood Braid Elf gives us a turn. Inferno Titan, alright. Phew! Welcome to the stress that is Ponza. Alright, we'll hold this Molten Rain in case they draw a relevant land. We can't attack, obviously, so we are just going to pass. Our nightmare is they rip planes and have Spirit Mantle in hand, so we'll just because also, like, so Spiker says this is how the matchup normally goes for me on the draw. Lock them out and try to draw something big before you are dead. Blood Braid Elf. Alright, sweet. Let's see what we got. Spin the wheel. Harbor Elf. Okay. Well, it means that we can attack with our Inferno Titan. No blocks. No blocks. Pump, pump. All right. Forest. Oh no! Maybe I shouldn't have attacked with my Inferno Titan. Goddamn Bogles. Goddamn Bogles. Hate that deck so much. Alright. Moon, Stone Rain. Fetch, fetch, fetch. Birds of Paradise. Sprawl. Keep. Okay. We'll go ahead and play Heath first, because that's our Foothills can get both red and green. We're going to go with Sprawl here as opposed to Birds. And we're going to name green. That way, when we play Moon, we'll have green, green, red, red in hand and on the battlefield. And we're going to go with Sprawl here because it's our most reliable, it's the most resilient turn 1 play. Turn 1 Dork. Okay, we might actually be playing the Mirror. Let's see. Foothills. We're going to go get a Mountain here. No need to get Stomping Grounds quite yet. Spiker says I did everything right with that match. Got to close the game fast and only give them one turn to draw a forest or plains. Voice of Resurgence. Alright, so not the Mirror, so that's good. And we're going to... So I want to sequence it where I can play... I don't have to fetch... Right, I don't want to pay the life to fetch, but I also want to play either Birds or Arbor Elf. I think I'm going to... I don't know. I mean, Heath will get me the... I'll just play Heath. And then fetch a Forest. Just to take 1 as opposed to 3. And then Wooded Foothills will still be a... mountain. So we're going to play Arbor Elf here just because it ramps us more into whatever we draw. No blocks for Voice of Resurgence. Ramen up, Excavator. Alright, so do a Stomping Ground. So this is, you know, a lot of the thing with traditional Ponza is that you kind of sit and wait sometimes. We don't have a power play like Bonfire anymore, so that's kind of rough. But we do still have Titan. Cage is pretty important because the way that they really get back in is the cord and cocoa chains that they can assemble. We just want block here. Molten Rain. Alright, so... let's see... Well, we're going to Molten Rain their Forest. And... I mean, they can just Excavator. I don't know. Yeah, that's not great. So... Okay, so... Basically, if we draw a Titan here, we can stabilize. Possibly. No. Nope. They're going to do something sweet. We're going to block with birds here. Not having Bonfire really, really hurts our game 1 matchup against these kind of decks. They have Cocoa in hand. Yep. Yep. Alright, so we'll bring in Cage to cut them off from their top end, and then Anger as additional removal to Bonfire. Bloodman is still good. Your LD package is still fine. I'm going to take out Colossus. I don't particularly care for it here. It usually gets mucked up. You know, the ground gets pretty mucked up. So, so you want more. You know, the pro black isn't relevant. It can get big, but like whatever. And let's see, we don't really... Because Cage is going to do a lot of what... A lot of the work that our land destruction is going to do with really just keeping them off of Cocoa and Cord. So, Spiker says Colossus and Shaven Colossus and a couple LD spells is fine here. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the Stone Rains can go. They'll have dorks because, like, a lot of times you go Moon Sweeper and they have 1 relevant land, and then you can go after that 1 relevant land with another one of your spells. So I like Titan here. I like Chandra here. Bloodbraid Elf is fine. It's a nice value card. And Cage and does not interact with Cascade, so that's nice. We'll go ahead and submit. Stormbreath Dragon is good too because you basically get to play it and block any big knights. So we've got Lightning Bolt, Molten Rain, Heath, Foothills, Sprawl, Stomping Ground. Sweet, I'll keep it. We have Our Sprawl is especially great here because it doesn't interact with negatively with Anger of the Gods. So we'll go ahead and keep it. We are in the play. They are a Ghost Quarter Field of Ruin deck, so we do have to keep that in mind and know that our Sprawl isn't like the end-all be-all. We're going to lead off with Heath here to go get a basic forest. And then we cut a lot of our GG cards, so we can pretty safely, aggressively go with mostly red mana. I don't think we actually have a card post-board that costs GG, so... Forest Noble Hierarch. So, alright, cool. So we'll go... So we have a couple options here. We can go Blood Moon. I actually want to wait. I'm not going to do the Blood Moon now. I would like to keep them off of... so we can play the Stomping Ground tapped and bolt here. Bolt Hierarch, or we can play the Molten Rain. Let's see. I like to choke, generally against these kind of decks, I like to choke their mana before playing Blood Moon, because usually keeping them off of their dorks and their mana, like keeping them at a lower quantity of mana, allows me to better control the game. I think I'm going to bolt here so that they have to more aggressively fetch for a non-basic. I think that's the line I'm going to take. It's less mana efficient, but I think it's fine. I mean, I do have to worry about Excavator being a play that they have access to, but I can keep them off of 3 mana for long enough that that shouldn't be an issue. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And pass. Rule Borin says I like Molten Rain here and then Bolt plus Rain next turn. Yeah, that could have been more correct. I'll have to go back and review that line. Okay, so we have... We can Rain and Bolt, or Rain and not Bolt, and just let voice be a voice. I like Molten Raining the forest here. And we'll turn this into a mountain. I don't know why I fetched there. I didn't have to. Go after their forest. Ghost Quarter, okay. Now I'm going to play Moon, but one out they do have is they can, in response, Ghost Quarter their plains for a forest should they need the mana more, should they need the green mana more than the... And we're going to go ahead and leave 2 red up just in case they try to do something with that Ghost Quarter. Go ahead and Moon here. And then, Rule Borin says I like Molten Rain here. And then Bolt plus Rain next turn, because they would have 0 mana after that turn then. Yeah. Okay, so they are Ghost Quartering their plains to get a forest. And that's fine. We can't bolt them. We can't bolt whatever their play is. Ooh, they may try to path their voice. So Ooh, that's some spicy tech. I think I bolt their voice here. Well, if I bolt their voice here, they just get a 3/3 voice. I'm still going to sacrifice my Blood Moon regardless of what I do. I'd rather save their bolt for a mana producer, so we'll just go ahead and let that resolve. Sacrifice an enchantment. Okay. That was a cool line. I did not see that coming. Birds. Okay. And now we get to Molten Rain and Lightning Bolt. We will go ahead and divide up our sprawls to play around Ghost Quarter a little bit better. And we'll bolt birds here. Bolt counters it. Spiker said Bolt counters it, right? No, because it has 2 targets. It was targeting me to sacrifice an enchantment and targeting their creature to give it a +1/+1 counter. So because I had 2 targets, I couldn't make it counter upon resolution. The modes they selected were +1/+1 counter and target player sacrifices an enchantment. Storm Breath, all right. So we can actually just get aggressive here. Our clock is a little, because we can draw land and then all of a sudden our clock is pretty fast. Bolt helps our clock. Turns it into, yeah, 2 turns. Why did I sack Moon and not Sprawl? Because I forgot that I could do that. That was a sick mind trick that they just pulled on me. Spiker asks, why did I sack Moon and not Sprawl? Because, well, I forgot. I forget sometimes that Utopia Sprawl is an enchantment. And that is something that I can do. Alright, so we are now on blocking mode. So I could have bolted, well, no, if I bolted them at end of turn, they make an elemental and it gets worse for me. So we'll just, we're going to play Cage, and then so if they play like, so if they play a creature with Exalted, which I know they play at least 5, they can get in for lethal. That's assuming I don't bolt the Voice of Resurgence. If I bolt the Voice of Resurgence, they can... I think I do that because basically if I draw a land next turn, I can just kill them. The likelihood of them going like creature with Exalted creature attack is pretty unlikely. So we'll just go ahead and do that here. They do have access to Burnt and Fortune Ender, so that is a card that I have to be cognizant of. Bolt them. Nope, not bolt them. I meant bolt Voice of Resurgence. So now I definitely can't attack. Because if they play an... Well... they have to play an Exalted creature. I think I'm in a good enough spot I don't have to go for it. I mean, if I go for it and it doesn't work out, then I've lost the match. If I play it safer, because like really at any time, like if I draw a land next turn, I can just Monstrous Dragon and attack through. It doesn't matter. They could have another Dramoka's Command. That's also true. So we don't need to be risky quite like with that line. I think had I had correctly bolted the voice, I would have been able to actually get there, but Ruleborn says they could also have another Dramoka's Command. That's correct. Knight of the Reliquary, okay. Land. Blood Moon. Okay, well. Well, I think we played ourselves out of this game. That's okay. Dragon has pro white. How does Exalted kill you? Spikers asks how to. So Dragon voice kills me if I take the line of attacking. Obviously, Stormbreath Dragon does not care about Voice of Resurgence because it's has protection from white. So that's why it kills me. So that's what I'm saying. Because I could have bolted Voice, shrunk it to a 1/1, forced them to have 2 creatures and a creature with Exalted for them to kill me. Like, if they had Hierarch, or whatever, then I die. But I didn't, and then I didn't. So Cage is good here. It cuts them off of Chord for 2 or 1. They also can't... Well, they can't Coco anyway, because they don't have 4 mana. They do have access to Birds, though, which is a non-white flyer to block Stormbreath Dragon. Corsair of Crewfix, okay. I don't... yeah, I'm not... I'm going to block. Yeah, I'm going to block, because basically, block or not, next turn, if I'm on the defensive, then I still don't have enough. Like, they're still going to be able to attack through with lethal, so if I'm at 1. And their elementals green-white. Land. Alright. Land, Monstrous Dragon, attack for lethal. Alright. Now, let's just review sideboard. I don't think I want to do anything differently. I think this is fine. I don't think Kitchen Finks comes in. Or Trinisphere or anything like that. Maybe Colossus is better than Bloodbraid Elf. Here, actually. Colossus doesn't die to anger. It can also get bigger than like a knight, should I need that option. Maybe I like that better, actually. Bloodbraid Elf is still, an attacking Bloodbraid Elf is going to die to most anything they have. So yeah, let's try this actually. I mean, Bloodbraid Elf does give us another draw into removal. So, Primal Command is still good because the gain 7 can get you a turn or two, and then it goes and gets Titan, and they don't play discard, so they're not going to be able to really interact with that. I don't know if my thinking is correct here, but I'm going to try it. I mean, Bloodbraid Elf doesn't die to Anger because Anger resolves first if you cascade into it, but there is the whole... Well, I don't know. Maybe because of Colossus's strain on my mana. Maybe I just want to do, like, board out one, maybe. Yeah, let's try that. Basically, because the deck is almost exclusively red post-board. Warrior of Mine asks, so did BbE replace Acid Moss in this deck? Yeah, basically. So there's a couple different ways you can think about. I'm gonna pause and just like pause that thought. Look at this hand. Forest, Heath, great. Inferno Titan, good. Blood Moon, good. Arbor Elf, Utopia Sprawl, good. We're gonna be able to get to like 4 on 2, 5 on. Arbor Elf is more solid than Utopia Sprawl actually, so it's a pretty decent hand. You'll be able to get to go turn 2 Moon, and then like if we draw, actually with these lands, this is turn 3 Titan, so we're gonna keep it. Yeah, so there's the thing I immediately noticed with Bloodbraid Elf is that it has 3 modes in Ponza. Either you're going to play a threat with Bloodbraid Elf, so it's more like Huntmaster. You're going to play a land destruction spell or a disruptive spell, so it's more like Sprawl here. So it's more like Acid Moss, or you're going to play a ramp spell like an Arbor Elf or Utopia Sprawl or Birds, so it's also like Acid Moss in that respect. Now we can turn to Bloodbraid Elf. I mean, turn 2 Moon doesn't do a whole bunch. We'll just Bloodbraid Elf here, since they are giving us the offensive. So, in my opinion, the best... Like, you can absolutely play, like, a value-oriented version. I mean, Ryan Shaner is posting good results with his version that plays Goyfs and 7 Dorks and Noble Hierarch and Dominaid, and it's a little smaller, with fewer dragons and stuff, and then more... quote-unquote hits with Bloodbraid Elf. Sure, we'll cast that. And then, but I think that it doesn't, like, so they consider, like, Bloodbraid Elf hitting a Birds of Paradise to be a blank, and I think that it's better that it is actually valuable. Now, its value late game is obviously contextual. You can, like, a later Bloodbraid Elf doesn't, if you were going from, like, literally it's like 7 mana to 8 mana, it's not like a huge deal. Like a Bloodbraid Elf right now is not that great. But Warrior of Might says, with all the Jace decks, do you think it may be needed to sideboard Acid Moss to be heavily anti-control for the meta? No, I think that, I mean, Acid Moss is actually kind of a worse card against control, because with the control decks, at least like the blue X controlled X, it's better. You get better value playing multiple spells a turn. So your cheaper land destruction is actually a little bit better if you're playing a larger quantity of it. So you can overload their, like, so for example, if they counter, if you get to 6 mana, if they counter your Stone Rain, they're going to have to deal with the Kitchen Sphinx that you can now play. Or, they can't, if you have 6 mana, they can't, and they can only Logic Knot for 3 or Mana Leak or Remand, then you can just replay the spell that you play. So I actually assisted a guy on Ponza last night streaming the deck. So we have access to 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 mana. We can't Inferno Titan and play Blood Moon. So I think we're just going to play Colossus and Blood Moon. And yeah, I think we'll just play Colossus and Blood Moon. Play Blood Moon. Stomping Ground. Tap. 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 Colossus. And pass. Tracker, fine. Land, okay. So now we'll be able to basically, we'll attack with both Colossus and Arbor Elf here, and then assuming, they'll probably block the Bloodbraid Elf here. Maybe they'll let the Colossus through. I mean, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Basically can kill them with Colossus pumps. So we'll not lead with the Titan because basically, like, we can yeah, we'll finish off. We'll basically just wipe their board here with the Inferno Titan. So we can produce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red. Okay, so we'll need 1, 2. We're gonna go to Molten Rain. One of your forests. 2, 4, 6. Now, when playing Inferno Titan, it's a shortcut that the first target will get the most damage. So you can split it with, like, it's quicker to go them. Target 1 is going to be dealt 2 damage. Target 2 is going to be dealt 1 damage. It's a little, so, and win that game. All right, play league match. All right. Kind of played out how you want it, like, and that to me is kind of the strength of the lists that go a little bit more, like, keeping the Utopia Elf package allows you to be more explosive in more games, and then allows you to play a more resilient turn 1 ramp spell in Utopia Sprawl. So to me, playing more hierarchs, like reducing that strength, it gives you strength in other areas, but you have to understand that, like, you're playing, like, it's very easy to be playing a weaker version of a different deck. So so Chandra Torch, 2 Chandra Torch, 2 Colossus, Foothills, Sprawl, Inferno Titan. We will not keep this. We will mulligan. If one of these was like a turn 2, like a, we are also on the draw. So if one of these was like a moon or something, I would be more. I would consider this a more hand more, but we're gonna mulligan. Sure, Heath, Stone Rain, Blood Moon, Sprawl Elf. We get a Scry. We get to keep the Scry since we're not on the play, and we'll go ahead and keep. So, and like, so for example, this hand, if I were on the play, I would, on the play in the dark, I would lead with, it was an interesting conversation I had last night with another Ponza, with somebody who was streaming Ponza that I was helping. I would lead with Sprawl here because it's the more resilient play, because you have a bunch of guaranteed, you have a bunch of solid turn 2 plays. There's no reason to go to be risky just to maybe get a potential payoff of 4 mana on turn 2. And we'll go ahead and fetch. Now against Tron, you kind of have to battle two different realities. They either can play some number of ballistas / fatal push / dismember main, or they play like a few more ghost quarters than normal. Normally though, I've only seen like one ghost quarter versus more creature removal. So even against Tron, where Arbor Elf is probably just as safe as Sprawl, I still think Sprawl is a little safer. So I'm going to go with the Sprawl here, and then I'm going to name red. You could name green so that you can fetch with that Heath next turn. But depending on my draw, I may want that Heath to be an actual forest. So, okay, so they open with Sylvan Scrying, Forest, and so no possibility for turn 3 Tron, which is good. All right, so Heath, and then we are going to go fetch. Fetch a forest, play Sprawl on this land, and then play Blood Moon. And then next turn we'll play, because basically if you go with the Stone Rain line here, you want to divide them because you're basically making Ghost Quarter a more appealing play to them. If you're not, like if we're going Blood Moon here, we can safely put the Sprawl on this forest, and that way this one land powers Molten Rain, and then we still have double green. And we have to understand though that they can play, we're not keeping them off of 3 mana, so Oblivion Stone is a very realistic play for them next turn. We do have Stone Rain. We don't have any pressure though, which is going to be kind of challenging. Yep, Oblivion Stone. All right, so the race is on. We are going to. They're pretty light on spheres and stuff, so I actually think usually I would go after Tron pieces here, but I actually think it's better to go after the forest. They're light on spheres. They may be relying on like an Ancient Stirrings or something, more so than some of their cycle lands or even a map. So I think it's better to go with we'll go Elf, and then we'll Stone Rain their forest. O-Stone is strong because they can blow it at EOT at the end of our turn. Alright, we need a creature. Chandra Torch, that's decent. And then we're going to play it. And then remember, Arbor Elf, Chandra, the way that works, you don't get to... once you Chandra, you can't activate your Arbor Elf. So we're at 4, so we're at Bloodbraid Elf mana. If we reveal a Dragon or a Titan, we can't play it, or even a Primal Command, but like I think it's fine. It's good enough. We want just whatever hit we can get, or the 2 damage. We're not going to play the second Blood Moon quite yet. Okay, so they have natural Tron if they get to 5 mana. So that was kind of the risk that we took going with that line. You know, and maybe they appear to be mono. They're probably mono green Tron, because that's the more popular variant currently. Utopia Sprawl's not good. We have. So we have 5 mana, not 6. We want to float some mana. Floating some mana with Arbor Elf is more valuable than getting in for Arbor Elf with 1. We're going to actually hold this Sprawl just in case we don't rip any. We're not lucky and we have to face a post-Oblivion Stone reality world against Tron. So we're going to go ahead and tap this for mana and untap it. And exile with Chandra. Come on. Weird fails. Nope. Okay, so we are now hoping that they just don't have a 5th land. And we're still going to hold the Blood Moon and the Sprawl. There is a very real possibility we could draw a dragon and then attack them, and then in response to, like, before combat. Oh, are they blowing no stone now? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so, yep, that's fine. Now, they are at a lot of mana. So depending on what they have in their hand, we're not out of the weeds yet, but we do still get to follow up with Sprawl and Moon. Now if they go land Wormcoil, we are okay. Well, they did not, so that's fine. Exile the top card. Obviously, when we can play the spells, we don't get them, and then we can't. We get them. Another O-Stone. All right. They don't have a land in hand, so it's very real that if we like rip a land destruction spell, that we can actually keep them off of the mana to activate O-Stone. And in this case, we'll go after a Tron piece, actually. Like, should we reveal a... Alright, well, no. So, and this is the danger of playing this version, you know, without Tracker and without, like, a few more threats. You're basically, like, you have like the tools, like the land destruction. Oh, they're doing it again. Why are you doing that again? It's way more valuable for them to basically get a time walk against me than it is for them to blow up O-Stone on their main phase or whatever. Like 10 Ulamog, yeah, that's fine. You got this game. All right. You have to combine pressure plus Blood Moon. You can't just rely on just Blood Moon to get you there. So bolts are not great here, so we're going to take those out. We are going to bring in. We want the Finks for aggression, as well as a threat post like O-Stone and All's Dust, and then we don't want Trinisphere. We don't want Cage. We're going to bring in some number of grudges, whether it's 2 or 3. I haven't decided quite yet. But you want that. You basically want to always, without having access to Beast Within, or Pithing Needle, or a Braid, O-Stone is a lot scarier. So the O-Stone plan basically is keep them off of 5 mana unless you draw Grudge, or Needle, or something else. Yeah, no. Spiker84 says, yeah, no. BbE, Dragon, Titan, and Colossus. That game was rough and bad. Chandra hits too. Yep, yep. Okay, so I think we want all the land destruction. I mean, maybe we actually don't need Finks here. I mean, I think I like Finks more than Inferno Titan. But do I like 4 Finks? Do I think that's too many? Because Blood Raid Off does a pretty good. Because what happens when we add Finks, we increase the number of non-land destruction spells that Blood Raid Off can hit. Maybe Finks is incorrect. And maybe just the 3 grudge is where we want to be. I mean, there is a lot of grudge, but like that means that, you know, we'll see it more often. Yes, Biker says, I would just do 3 bolt for 3 grudge. You have Blood Raid Off now. Yep, that makes sense. I can definitely get behind that. Yeah, and even if we hit grudge with Blood Raid Elf, it's still in the graveyard for later use. So, actually, I've seen a lot of lists play like a Pithing Needle, and actually, I'm kind of into that, but I don't know if I'm convinced quite yet. Just because you get to be a little bit proactive with you know, Pithing Needle hits Karn and stuff too. I would love to play first. Okay, so Moon, Birds, Sprawl, Stomping Ground, Wooded Foothills, Molten Rain. Okay, so we've got some land, we've got some disruption. We'll need to draw our pressure. But otherwise, this is a good start. And we're going to go with Sprawl on... We're going to go with Sprawl on red here, just because if they like have a Ghost Quarter, so Birds versus Sprawl, if they have a Ghost Quarter, it inspires them to make a play that keeps that puts them off of Tron for a little bit longer, which plays into our game plan, as well as if they have a Birds, like if they have an answer for Birds, they can play a Tron land and then play their answer for Birds, potentially. So we want to keep them off of that option. And we're going to name red. We don't really need double green until we draw Colossus, and then we have plenty of options for double green post moon with that Wooded Foothills. So, well, if we name red here, that means next turn we get to Molten Rain, but we have to play the Stomping Ground or the Wooded Foothills as a red source. So that's a little bit of a little awkward, but we'll go ahead and run this line. I like it a little bit better. Now we have a couple turns in these early turns against Tron, the Tron decks, to like actually deploy a threat like Tireless Tracker, should that be a threat that you are actually playing. So like we don't really need to moon here as much as we so this is like a perfect opening for a threat like Tracker or Kitchen Finks, as opposed to a threat like Blood Raid Elf. So that is one of the reasons why I do like Finks. But we'll go ahead and lead with. We'll go ahead and play Stomping Ground here, and then play the Moon. Well, or do we want to go with Molten Rain? I think we'll go with Molten Rain here. We get a Tron land, and then we keep them off of mana to activate Expedition Map. Like, should we draw an Ancient Grudge next turn, for example, we actually get to get a little bit more value off of Ancient Grudge. Sphere, cool. All right, and then we'll go ahead and play this. Foothills will fetch a green source now. Play Birds. Play Moon. And now we're at the point where we really need to draw a fetch. They have map for their third Tron piece, and then the green that might give them an answer to Blood Moon. Sylvan's crying, okay. There's this tower, so they're just going to scry for their third Tron piece. Oh, man. All right, these draws have been pretty bad. We're going to go ahead and play the second moon, only because we have the third moon. So, Craig the Fish says your plays are very well reasoned. First time viewer. Thanks for tuning in, Craig. I'm glad you like it, and I appreciate the compliment. I'm really trying to kind of talk things through and really give you all a bit of insight from how I kind of approach the matchups and everything, how I play the deck. Okay, so they have Tron. They have a map to go to forest should they want to do that, or a fourth land, basically. Like, oh geez, come on. All right, so at this point, that is the one thing I don't like about I really miss Tracker, because without Bonfire, you don't have an incentive to really get above 6 mana. So you get to add Tracker, which means that you get to hold your lands and hold your fetches for a little bit later. So we'll go ahead and not attack with birds. Beltramage says, hey man, picking up Ponza for my local events. I'm excited to see somebody streaming the deck. Yeah, awesome. I'm curious. Feel free to send me any list that you might have questions about or whatever. So, and I'll be happy to answer questions. So they mapped for a Tron piece and then played a forest. They have a Tron piece in hand, and now they're Ancient Stirrings. So they are definitely able to draw anything that they should be able to, we're not as scared about 5 mana. Well, we are now, being that they have O-Stone. Even a Grudge here, like if we go, if we go Bloodbraid Elf into Grudge, so let's see, they have a tower in their hand at least. So we drew a Grudge here, which is medium. Like a well-timed Grudge, but we still want... We're still nowhere near, winning the game or whatever. Modern the mid-ranging set just laughs. Craig the Fish, I've tried traditional and evolution Ponza. Thought the latter was much better. Now we have Bloodbraid Elf and getting Goist for low and lowering the curve. Sure. So tapping double red for Walking Ballista. Okay. Ooh, so now they give us a choice of O-Stone or Walking Ballista. Well, we're going to be less worried about Walking Ballista than we are O-Stone. Yeah, so Craig, I like evolution in theory. The problem is that there's just too many non-bows. You're playing a deck with Utopia Sprawls and Blood Moons. There are just lines, ways your deck plays out where you just can very reasonably not play a creature before turn 4 or 5, and that be the correct line. So you're playing this card that you're playing evolution, which really wants you to play more creatures, and in a deck that plays disruptive spells and things like that. As well, you cannot if you cascade into an evolution, you cannot sacrifice your Bloodbraid Elf to that evolution, which is a kind of a bummer. So you basically are still with the same problem. Is that obviously it's a good value creature, and that can't be denied, but you're still stuck with the same amount of kind of non-bows and stuff. So we know that this is the revealed area. We know that they've played the Oblivion Stone that we saw, as well as the 2 Urza's Towers that we saw. So That walking ballista is going to be kind of a pain until we draw an answer or a threat. And a third O-Stone. Okay. This game is just a nightmare. That'd be cool if we draw another, like, that'd be insane if we drew, like, if we went, like, Bloodbraid Elf into Ancient Grudge. That would be cool. Craig the Fish, true. I don't think Evolution fits with BbE, and I'm going to add the LD back in. Oh my god, these draws have been horrendous. So at least we have... Well, we don't even have 6 mana post Blood Moon, or post O-Stone. So, we're just going to attack with our Arbor Elf. Get in there. So, I mean, that is one reason why I think that, like, it's... Okay, they blow up O-Stone. They should have attacked. They could have actually probably played... I don't know if they have a Wormcoil Engine in hand or something, but they probably didn't even actually need to blow the O-Stone. And then they're blowing the O-Stone and then not removing counters with Ballista. Fine. They have 6 mana now. They're not even going to use it. Alright. Well, we will, we don't need to fetch, so we won't. But we are going to really, like, we're going to draw like an Arbor Elf, like a champion. And we're going to play a Blood Moon. At this point, they still have 3 cards in hand, so very well could be like Worldbringer, a Worldbreaker, or Wormcoil Engine or something. Or Karn. Maybe it's another, like, O-Stone. Maybe they just are like 7 Karn. No, Worldbreaker, okay. Exile Blood Moon. Sure. Surprising, I mean, as challenging as Worldbreaker is, it's actually one of the more beatable threats. I mean, if they had led with Karn, oh my god, these draws have been horrendous. Even if they had led with Karn, we would have still, like, if they've gone Karn, we have Dragons and Titans, so we could have actually still gone through. We'll keep this fetch in hand for no reason. Sure, what have you got? What do you think of moving Colossus? Warrior of Might says, what would you think of moving Colossus to board and cutting Primal Command for these 3 Tireless Tracker main? Yeah, maybe. Tapping set. Okay, cool. Karn, alright. And Ugin. Karn and Ugin. You think we can win? I don't think we can win this one. So let's go ahead and concede. Maybe Primal Command, like, just isn't necessary anymore. I like it because it's like it's kind of like a pseudo beast within that also, like, gains you life, like, can be a bridge against aggressive decks. It can also be a bridge against aggressive graveyard decks, as well as random combo decks where you just, like, shuffle your graveyard, put your, like, land or Pentad Prism on top or whatever. So, let's see. So, but I could see Tireless Tracker in place of Primal Command, but I still like Colossus. I don't know how it all fits together though. I'd still, like, have to play some more matches to really kind of work out where I would want to add Tracker. I mean, Michael and I differ in that, like, we could probably play the same 72 cards, but I would play 3 Trackers and he wouldn't. He's just not that high on the card. It's not a card that is fantastic late. the format is also can be pretty hostile sometimes to a 3-2 for 3. So, but to be fair, I don't think he's played it enough to really come to the same conclusions. But he is a good theorist, so I do trust his opinion on that. I've been watching Modern the mid-ranging says I've been watching the 5-0 Ponza lists. I feel like lists like these just run on so much air. I'm curious what you mean. Trackers are so necessary for extra gas and something like this. You can dump your hand so quickly. Yeah, I mean you can absolutely. I've liked Tracker just because you just get because you're not playing Bonfire, you're not incentivized to go to like play every land that you draw. So you actually get rewarded for saving your fetches and being a little bit less aggressive with your life total against some of the mid-range or the aggressive techs and whatever. All right, so Elf, Birds, Moon, Stone Rain, Chameleon, Colossus, Heath, and Foothills. This is a keep. And we are on the draw. Ooh, okay. So it looks like if you all want to check the chat, Modern the mid-ranging posted posted league results. So that's pretty sweet. So Marsh Flats pass. Could be Mardu, could be Abzan. Hell, it could be Esper, who knows. We'll go ahead and... So in this position, Birds is essentially the same risk as Elf, but Elf gives you a higher upside should you need to juke, switch plans, and play a turn 2 Colossus. So we're going to go with Elf here. It means that we'll have to probably fetch a little bit more aggressively with that Heath, but I'm okay with that. Same risk, higher reward. Modern the mid-ranging says A-Bomb Diggity's list is a lot lower to the ground than you normally see to try to enhance your blood rate hits. Yeah, so I mean they're probably playing like Goyfs and like maybe some Scoozes and stuff, which I mean it's fine. But then you're becoming basically like a deck with not enough land destruction to really be super consistent against the big mana decks or decks where you really want that strategy. And then you're going to win some games because you're just playing a pile of good red-green cards. So, but you're playing Goyf in like a deck that can't control its size as easily. All right, so Mardu. Cool. So we'll go ahead and lead with Blood Moon here. Because then we can start keeping them off of souls and some of their black plays and leave them with their faithless lootings and stuff. So we are going to be a little challenged because we want to... we will want... I mean, Chameleon Colossus is going to be good in this matchup. They do play Terminate, so it's not... Well, they can't Terminate a Colossus, never mind. So they might play Path, but probably not. We're going to go get a mountain with this Foothills. So, and then next turn, we'll be able to Stone Rain a relevant land, and then play a Birds. Play a Blood Moon here. Matt, would you ever consider testing Nissa Vital Force? I've played Nissa Vital Force before. It's just not that great in a world of Fatal Push, to be honest. It was great before Fatal Push became like a huge thing, and then now, unfortunately, the -5 or the like make a 5/5 ability is like a little bit too risky. You also basically have a problem with like you unfortunately. It is fine like as a 5/5. Like I kind of liked it as like a 5/5 haste against like some combo decks, as like a pretty non-traditional way to utilize that card. So we have an option of playing birds and a land destruction spell, which isn't really that relevant here. Um, if they had Faithless Looting, they would have played it. So they're sitting on a bunch of colored spells as well as maybe a Bedlam Reveler or two. So, and they're not even close to being able to play Reveler. So we're just going to play Colossus here because it's just going to be a better. We're not going to block with it because they have Bolt, but we are going to we're not going to block with it. And then if we attack, we're going to make sure that we can pump it. So that they don't get to kill Colossus with Bolt shenanigans. So yeah, so that's Nissel Vital Force. It's still medium. It's still like a card that I always I'm always going to keep one of just in case, but it's just gotten worse as time has gone on. You do get the value of getting back a permanent they discarded or whatever, so that's good. Landos21 says, nice to see another Ponza deck. I have a question. How can we beat Bogles? My LGS has so many of these running around. My analogy is that they are a water faucet. Your job is to shut off the water and then the faucet and deal with the water. So what that means is that you basically let them play like a dork, and then maybe one or two enchantments, and hopefully those enchantments aren't high impact enchantments, but you need to disrupt them as fast as possible so that they stop playing spells, and then allow your back end to really deal with the job of cleanup. So I would advise Trinisphere. I like the land destruction package. The problem you do have to worry, Trinisphere is a do nothing card, along with Blood Moon and Stone Rains, so you have to kind of be cognizant of the fact that you are playing a few more do nothing cards, but you want to keep in your Titans and your big threats, because those are going to come down and hopefully block whatever they have, assuming they don't have a Spirit Mantle on it. So we are going to. Do we want to play? We don't want to Stone Rain. They are what, 2, 4, 6. They are 2 mana away from playing a Bedlam Reveler, so we have a little bit of time. We have a decent attack here, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, we can attack and then force them to use an elemental to block. Sure. And then we can we'll just go ahead and Stone Rain and Birds here. Only because we want to still be a little disruptive and keep them a little bit away from Reveler. But understanding that, we still have a Stone Rain for another relevant plains or a swamp. So it is, and then also with Bogles, going back to Bogles, you have access to Fracturing Gust in your sideboard. So, that's also a card you can play over a card like Shatterstorm, for example, if that's heavy in your meta. And then Beast Within and Primal Command are also kind of role players in that matchup, where Beast Within can deal with a Coronet or a Spirit Mantle or something, and then make their creature easier to interact with. So we are going to play this Forest, and we'll attack with Colossus, holding up pump mana should they want to try to block and bolt. So we are going to end up not playing anything. Cool. So here's where it's sort of a chess match, where the most pure form of interaction we can present is holding up Forest, Heath. That way we don't give them an opportunity to respond to activate with activating Arbor Elf. So for example, we are going to play the only thing we're going to play this turn. We're going to play Birds with our Birds, and we're not going to tap down either of the forests, because if they try to bolt, we don't want them to have an opportunity in response to Arbor Elf. Our Arbor Elf activation, for example. If we are relying on our Elf for the double green mana, Young Pyromancer, sure. They are probably going to not attack. Okay. So we have access to 2. If we play this Stomping Ground, we have access to like double pump. So it's like extra threatening. So in situations like this, the difference, you know, like we were talking about the Tron. Oh, dang it, we should have double pumped. In situations like this, the double, like Tron and Colossus are kind of the same. Only Colossus can, like, there I had the opportunity to deal 18 or 16 damage with Colossus. So Colossus is a little better in this situation. I don't think we care. We're just going to present lethal. If they don't have a blocker, like if they don't have like bolt, create a blocker or anything. Okay. And then let's see. Yep, 16, Chameleon Colossus. All right. So this is where you get kind of some debate about what is actually good against Mardu. I'm actually of the opinion that Blood Moon is way better against Mardu than a lot of other Ponza players think. They're like, oh well, they still have all these red spells. They have a lot of card draw. Yeah, but like they have a lot of other color spells too that they want to play, and Blood Moon cuts them off of those, and then like it makes one LD spell way better, because then basically like they're stuck with like that game. If they drew a swamp, they could probably play some stuff, but we still had like a backup Stone Rain. So I actually just like getting a little bit more resilient and value oriented here in this matchup. I don't think I bring in. I don't think I want Anger over Bolt. I think the only real threat that I want to deal with is Young Pyromancer and like the Bedlam Reveler. So I like bringing in Finks in this matchup because most of their removal is damage based. We can actually board out one of our birds to make our top decks a little better late game. That's one thing that I like to do against some of these attrition decks like Jund, where you don't exactly need the turn 2 moon, but it helps. I'm going to board out one moon and then go a little bit lighter on the... So Stormbreath Dragon is fine. They do play Terminates and stuff, so it's not as like a slam. It's not as slam dunk of a threat. And then they like it can basically be put in a situation where you have to block with it. So I'm actually going to shave one, and I'll probably shave one Stone Rain effect just because they do play discard. So discard can make your linear plan of playing playing a land destruction strategy a little bit worse. They can put you off of that. So we're going to go ahead and shave a dragon, a rain, a moon, and a birds for 4 Finks. Let's see. Let's check in with the chat. Fracturing Gust, Craig D. Fish, back to Bogles. Fracturing Gust is the only answer for Bogles. It is like an answer. But yeah, it's like if you have Bogles in your meta, just play 2 Fracturing Gusts as opposed to 2 Shatterstorms. It's fine. They're generally the same. You're going to lose a few games to both decks. You're going to lose to Bogles because you're playing Shatterstorm over Fracturing Gust, and then you're going to lose to Affinity sometimes because you're playing a 5-mana sweeper as opposed to a 4-mana sweeper, but it's really like whatever. Bonfire is Landis21 says, "How about Bonfire?" It's fine. I found that they can outclass Bonfire and Anger of the Gods a little bit too quickly for me to say that it's like very reliable. But a lot of times they have, if they have like a board of like Hexproof Dork and Spirit Dancer, you can get one and then just have to deal with the other or whatever. So Anger isn't like amazing there. One Mountain Hand, no acceleration. Yeah, this is just a straight mulligan. Colossus, Storm Breath, Stone Rain, Molten Rain, Stomping Ground, Forest on the draw. Seems really slow. It's liable to get mana screwed. Like against the attrition decks, if you know they're playing discard, you kind of want to keep a hand that's like more lands as opposed to less, so that you can still play your. They can like strip your hand, but they can't like interact with your top decks. Like they're playing Mardu. It's a slower deck. We get 6 plus a scry plus a draw. Two pretty good threats to work up to. I think I'll keep this. Like if that were a 7 plus like another spell, I would definitely mulligan. If that spell wasn't like an accelerator. No, we're gonna push that Titan. Mountain. The Craig DeFish says the creatures can get out of bonfire range too quickly, and they have totem armors. Yeah, so that's the other thing, is that like they can just interact well with sweepers in a variety of different ways, between getting bigger and getting totem armor. So Warrior of Might says totem armor block brick walls bonfire pretty hard. I mean, it can, but like you can bonfire for 1 from your hand on the play without destroying your Arbor Elf or your birds. So it has merit there, being that they always open with like a 1/1 for 1. So that's the window that you have, but unfortunately, like it's kind of a narrow window. It's kind of like the do you board in cards to deal with Stony Silence if you're Affinity. So it's like, I mean, you can, but they're it's not really that solid of a line. So we're in an interesting situation where we can play the forest and then save the fetch, or we can fetch, save the fetch, and because we want double green on turn 4, but we want double red, but we don't need double red until turn 5. So we'll go ahead and lead with this forest. So the creatures can get out. Yeah. So bonfire is a non-bow with Bloodbraid Elf. Modern the mid-ranging also points that out, which is also another reason why we have cut it from this version, whereas usually we would play that. Warrior of Might says, I guess he could run Nature's Claim over Grudge if his LGS is that heavy on it. I don't like Nature's Claim because in a deck, there are some games where we're playing enough threats and we're just going over the top so much that the 4 life doesn't matter. But a lot of times you actually have to manufacture a pretty tight racing situation. So Nature's Claim can actually be kind of a liability, as opposed to playing something like Natural State or maybe Natural State is the only other card that I would consider in that spot, being that it hits basically everything that you want it to hit, and that it hits Bridge and it hits Coronet and Spirit Mantle and rank. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter hitting Rancor, but Yeah, okay, so they're going to go Faithless Looting, Flashback Souls here. So we're in a pretty rough spot, pretty much regardless of what we draw. Maybe we undervalued Anger, and maybe we should actually be bringing in the Angers over the Bolts. I can definitely see that. The problem is that it sets you up, like, you like the mana advantage that you get with Anger, so or that you get with your Dorks, and being that you're not playing Acid Moss, you can't just like play a line where you go like Sprawl into Moon into Acid Moss into Anger, something like Anger, where you still have your mana advantage. But maybe just clearing the board is like way more important, especially if they're gonna, the lines are they go Souls into make an extra token with Young Pyromancer. Like, this is a pretty intimidating board position, and to be against. We're gonna go Heath, fetch the Forest, because this is a deck, like Mardu is a deck where Bonfire for 1 is very good, and maybe for that reason Anger is what we should be doing. I'm going to play Moon here, just to keep them off of white, like any sort of white plays. Modern in the mid-range, I have to keep this, I think. Modern in the mid-range says it's slow, but going to 5 is risky. Warrior of Might agreed. Keep Elf off the top, and this hand is good. Alright, so we can play Colossus. It is going to have to block, so we do risk any sort of, block, bolt. Like, it'll die to block plus bolt. We're going to play the Forest. No reason to, like, we don't need quad red until many turns down the line. And maybe that hand is only keepable if I actually play Anger in my main deck, in the sideboard. So, I mean, I could definitely... because that's a slower hand, and if they get kind of an overwhelming board presence, then it's not that great. Okay, so they're going to go bolt, bolt, bolt. Sure, yeah, and we're just dead here, so... Okay. Yeah, we're going to bring in... I think we take out the bolts, and we just bring in Anger. Because it's just better throughout more of the game. This is where, like, I miss Relic as opposed to Cage. Like, I wouldn't bring in Cage, but I would bring in Relic, because it just keeps them off of a lot of value. A card like Cage, basically it affects them until they play something like Call Against Command, and then it doesn't. So that's kind of why I like Relic over Cage. As well, like, Cage is another do nothing card that, like, you play it doesn't affect the board or anything when you need it to. So, like, we've got Blood Moons and Stone Rains and Molten Rains for that. So we'll just go ahead and submit that. Modern in the mid-ranging likes Natural State. They say it's good versus Affinity. It's good versus Bogles. It's good. It's fine versus Lantern. I mean, it's a little, it's fine versus Lantern. It's a little worse than like something like Grudge, but if you need something that overlaps, that's good. Warrior of Might says, I feel like Nature's Claim is one of those cards that when we bring it in against an aggressive deck where we're playing control, we either stabilize or we don't. I feel like the 4 life should matter, except in those rare games when you're eking out a win. The problem is that, like, the 4 life doesn't matter until it really, really matters. And when you can just play a better option that does, like, most of the job that you want it to do, and without having that having those games where it bites you in the butt. Okay, so decent hand. So we've got Anger, Forest, Primal Command, Mountain, Utopia Sprawl, Molten Rain, Forest. So we're going to be able to play an accelerator that doesn't get hit by Anger, which is nice. I like that very much. We'll also be able to play a turn 2 Molten Rain. We're going to need a little bit of help from our top decks, but I like that we have 4 of the 5 mana needed to Primal Command on turn 4. The Shuffle, the Gain 7, the Tutor a Creature, it's all going to be pretty valuable, so we're going to keep. Modern the Mid-Ranging also says modern aggro decks have so much resilience, though. This is not a control deck. You have to kill them eventually with your creatures. If you give decks too many turns, they'll take a dump on you. I agree with that. I also, you're also playing, Nature's Claim and Natural State are both 1-for-1s in a deck where you want a little bit of a higher card value and power than that. So that's also a concern of mine. And that's why people don't see Blood Moon in the same way that I do sometimes, and that they don't see it as like a Stone Rain that's an X for 1, where X is the amount of relevant lands it hits. And all right, so they're going to Inquisition. Depending on their hand, they're going to take. I mean, they obviously can only take Anger or Molten Rain. They probably take Molten Rain here. And then play that way they can better play around the Anger of the Gods. So that's to be expected, that line. So we'll go ahead and play our Forest here, and then play a Blood Moon. And that's what I kind of mentioned with like their discard is going to attempt to keep us off the more linear plan of the land destruction line. So you have to get a little bit more just abstractly powerful without, you can't lean on your synergies as much because they're just not going to be there as often against decks with discard and stuff. No, they're going to Thoughtseize. Probably going to take our Primal Command. Now, this is one of those games where it's actually completely justifiable to use Primal Command to put their swamp on their in their library and then shuffle it away, because you basically get to use it as a pretty powerful land destruction spell at that point in the game. Otherwise you could, gain 7 and go get a creature, which is probably a bunch of turns and a bunch of value. So, but those are 2 different lines you can take. Here's an example of why I like Kitchen Finks. Is that often, they're going to kind of strip the options away from you, and now you have a creature that requires a bunch of removal spells. It is a little bit of a non-bow with Anger, but by the time that Kitchen Finks has lost its value, Anger has gained its value, gained a lot of value. So that's the justification for this sort of non-bow. I mean, there are obviously times when you begrudgingly Anger, and because that's just what is required of the game state that you are in currently. So, all right, Chameleon Colossus was our draw. We are going to... So they can Culligan's Command, forcing us to discard a card. Is there a reason to play Chameleon Colossus post? Pre-combat, I don't think so. So we're just going to keep that information from them and attack with Kitchen Finks. Bolt. Okay, that's fine. Comes back. And they're playing this value game where, they're relying on a card like Young Pyromancer to get them, one little 1/1 off of to add value to their spells, and basically the life gain kind of takes away the value from that. Okay, Electricity, though, that's some interesting tech. So they're probably, setting up their couple mana away from an Reveler. So we do kind of have to watch out because decks like Mardu do have access to. I have been hit by like Rain of Tears, I mean, Fulminator Mage affects us less because I mean originally, almost 2.5 years ago when I designed the deck, it was meant to operate around cards like Fulminator Mage. So we have justification here to just attack and then threaten the pump. We can also anger to get rid of Young Pyromancer to like just keep them off of that line. I mean, I don't suspect they're going to play something like a Tragic Slip. Well, they can't target. They only have black mana, so they can't target Colossus. The problem is that like next turn, like anger is going to put my Colossus in range of dying. So, and I kind of like the advantage that I have with Colossus right now. So, I think I'm going to go ahead and anger here, knowing that I can probably leverage Colossus for the rest of the game and to get there. Especially since they're not going to have access to like the token making of Young Pyromancer to like make chump blockers by playing spells. And if they play something like Reveler, they're going to have to chump block with it basically because this Colossus is just going to smash in. This is one reason why I do like Colossus over Tron in many situations. It has just the game-ending power. Alright, Colossus. So they basically will have to double bolt Colossus should they want to kill it. We're going to go ahead and just pump it. Delete. Play. I mean, we can keep our land in our hand should they have something like a Culligan's Command or something. Just force them to play a dragon or something, or play a discard spell. Let's catch up with the chat a little bit. Modern the mid-ranging. All right, cool. We got there. Yeah, my theory on the anger leverage Colossus is correct. Modern the mid-ranging says modern Ponza is interesting in that it doesn't operate on the same axis as a lot of other quote-unquote mid-range type of decks. You're not playing the highest value cards that can always get you 2-for-1s. A lot of times you're trying to throw your opponent off of their game plan and essentially buy yourself free turns to do what you want while your opponent is stuck a turn behind or multiple turns behind. That is absolutely correct. I would add to that part of the reason why you need cards like, well, at least depending on the style of play that you like, you need cards like Colossus, Dragon, and Titan because they are the hammers that you need to use to punish your opponents while you have the mana advantage and the time advantage. Warrior of Might says, LOL, is BbE even in this deck? You never draw it. Yeah, I think I've only drawn it once. So, yeah, that's absolutely true. A-Bomb Diggy says, hi, what's going on? Loving the 6 dragons. Yep. Did I accidentally put 6 dragons on here? No. 4 Stormbreath Dragon? Okay, cool. All right. I typed my deck list in the little graphic on screen yesterday or the other day while I was playing Ponza. So, all right. So we are 2-2. Our losses were to, I think we lost to Tron, where we literally just drew air for 2 games in a row or 2 games. So we basically hit the that old 20% in the 80-20 matchups. Yeah. Oh, A-Bomb Diggity says Commanding Colossus is a dragon. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, A-Bomb Diggity, talk to the chat a little bit about your 5-0. I'm very curious. Because your take on it was much more similar to something that I would do. So, and I liked it quite a lot. All right, so Forest, Heath, Elf, Bloodbraid Elf, Inferno Titan, Molten Rain, Stormbreath Dragon, Blood Moon. This is one of those hands where, like, if you replaced, like, the Titan or the Bloodbraid Elf with, like, or even the Dragon with, like, another, well, like, maybe a land, this is possibly keepable. In the dark, I mean, you're going to be able to disrupt on turn 3 on their turn 2, so it's still probably soon enough for most of the format. But being that, like, we have access to the 6+ Scry with the Vancouver Mulligan rule change, we're going to go ahead and mulligan. Oof. Forest, Stone Rain, Blood Moon, Colossus, Molten Rain, Inferno Titan. This is not keepable. Modern the mid-ranging asks, what are your thoughts on the lower, asks A-Bomb Diggity, what are your thoughts on the lower to the ground version you 5-0'd with? Are there any changes that you are considering? A-Bomb Diggity says it's solid, it's more aggressive. They're considering their 7. A-Bomb Diggity says it lets you play a threat early and then Stone Rain. Yeah, and that is absolutely one approach to it. And that definitely has some merit where you play your threat first and then disrupt later, has merit against a lot of the, like, combo decks, as well as, like, the big mana decks where you need pressure plus disruption. We're going to mulligan, yeah. Okay, so Foothills, Stormbreath Dragon, Forest, Blood Moon. We are begrudgingly going to keep this and push the land to the bottom and play the foothill or the forest so that we don't disrupt our scry. Modern mid-ranging says, any reason you cut Utopia Sprawls and kept birds? I was thinking that Utopia Sprawl might be better just because it's less vulnerable to early bolts / pushes. Alright, so sleight of hand. Ooh, are we playing against Storm? We're probably playing against Storm. Either way, I mean, this is probably a good, if this is in fact Storm, this is a decent place to have our mulligan to a very mediocre 5, because we are probably not winning this game. Alright, so we drew a Bolt. We have a little bit of game should they play a Barrel or an Electromancer or something. Better synergy plus the mana meme. Oh, A-Bomb Diggity is splashing white for Fiery Justice, going after my teammate Michael Nielsen's heart. He freaking loves that card, and yeah, I like Fiery Justice too. That is, oh, I think I might actually do that. That's a hell of a card to cascade into. So they play their Shivan Reef. They do not have a play, so they're either holding up Remand. They're more than likely holding up Remand. So we're going to go ahead and play our Forest, fetch a Mountain here. Blood Moon, cast Blood Moon, get that Remand out of their hand. Perhaps this is one of those games where we might actually beat Storm by keeping them off of blue mana. So here's where they could play a Reducer and then just go off. That's the risk we run. I mean, next turn they play a Reducer. Yep, they're playing their Burrow right now. Okay, so it's actually a pretty good opening because they don't have a third land, so they can't. They obviously haven't gone off yet, so that's good. And then we're gonna play Blood Moon. Disrupt their mana. Play Foothills as a Mountain, and then Bolt Burl. And we're actually for a Mold of 5, pretty good position. They have to have a Manamorphose kind of hand for their blue stuff. Ooh, we also get to. So, I think. So if they draw an island, I mean, they're probably an island away from going off, if I'm reading the situation correctly. So we can probably afford to play dragon here. Let's check in with the chat scene. Okay, so I mean, if we play Molten Rain, they absolutely cannot go off next turn. But if we like start winning the game, I like to start winning the game against something like Storm. We're going to give them their turn. I mean, they have to have a couple things go right for them for this turn to really punish me. And it makes us have a 4 turn clock. At least we clock them, so. Nice chat. I love the chat going on. Modern to mid-range. So, for some context, A-Bomb Diggity is talking about his take in which he 5-0'd a league. I believe it was the first 5-0 Ponza, Bloodbraid off Ponza list in the new Modern. So that's pretty sweet. Modern the Mage asks, any reason you cut Utopia spells and kept birds? I mentioned that question earlier. A-Bomb Diggity says better synergy with nobles as well, plus the meme White Splash for Fiery Justice. Okay, so they are going off. They are going to attempt to go off. All right, so 3 rituals. Grape Shot to kill. Okay, that's fine. They use a bunch of resources to kill Stormbreath Dragon. That's fine. They buy themselves a bunch of turns, which is... Modern mid-range says, yeah, the card seems like a blowout versus humans and affinity. I definitely agree. A-Bomb Diggity says, which is great, but probably not worth it. Just looking for something else, something that's like Bonfire, but better than Roast. I agree with that. Search. A-Bomb Diggity says it's good in a lot of the matchups where you don't want to waste mace mana on an early Blood Moon. Modern the mid-ranging also asks, what about Finks versus Courser of Crufix? Alright, so opponent kind of goes off a little bit. Uses a bunch of rituals to draw a card with Manamorphose and kill my Stormbreath Dragon. So we'll go ahead and do the only thing that we really can do, which is destroy one of their lands. I mean, if they have ritual, if they have like land, I mean, they have to have land, ritual, seethings, the flashback spell, Pass in Flames. So, I'm going to take 2 from this Electromancer and hopefully draw a card that is of use. Stone Rain, I mean, this is kind of our plan against a deck like Storm, is that we basically choke them on resources and slow them down, and then eventually we'll win the game. Not having access to a cheap threat like Tracker is a little bit frustrating, so... let's see, also what Modern... the mid-ranging asks also what about Finks versus Courser of Crufix? A-Bomb Diggity says, I think Finks is just better enough against Burn and Death Shadow. It's just the right choice in the currently aggressive meta. He also says, I don't have the room currently to sideboard it out versus decks. I bring in Fracturing Gust. Modern mid-ranging says, Courser definitely one of my pet cards, but I understand why Finks is better currently. It's better against Fatal Push, makes sense. A-Bomb Diggity says also, yeah, I gotta play the Dragon here. Spaghetti King says, what else could we do with a White Splash, Stony, Rippin' Board, Paths? I've thought about a White Splash. The problem is that, like, once again, you're playing a deck with like land destruction spells that don't affect the board, and then Blood Moon. So you have to kind of be careful about what do nothing cards you have in your deck. So like playing extra cages and extra rest in pieces and stuff. We could have just kept that land in our hand, bluff something. But I'm more into this thought right now. So you have to kind of like really examine. I mean, Stony Silence is good, but like it doesn't affect the stuff that they already have in play, which probably will kill you. Rest in Peace is the most compelling reason, but I like Relic a little bit more because it draws you a card. You can also be a little bit more choosy, like you can leverage its incremental attribute to win certain games against other decks. Modern Mid-Ranging says, sorry for blowing up your chat. No problem. I'm just getting into Ponza since BbE unbanning in paper and kind of want to understand the changes that the deck is currently undergoing to accommodate it. Well, you came in at a good time because Blood Raid Elf does nothing but improve the deck regardless of what version you play. So either you're going to be playing a better pile of red-green cards that have Blood Moon and Stone Rains, or you're going to be playing a better version of Ponza where you get to ramp into more land destruction. It makes the red-green decks more consistent, and that's a boon for any Ponza deck, regardless of the flavor. I will not block here. They have 4 cards in hand. Chandra Torch. All right, so we are going to play Chandra Torch and minus. To kill their Electromancer and attack in. If they draw an island, they still get to gifts. Which can launch them into a game-winning sequence. Since we haven't really applied that much pressure. I mean, our best bet. So what if we if we have an amazing draw of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So what we can potentially produce 10 mana or whatever. Can't really kill him next turn, but Noxus Revival, Manamorphose. Okay. That's not good for us. Grape Shot. Ooh, okay, so they're going to get some extra value. Killing Chandra and Arbor Elf with their Grape Shots. Threat. Not Utopia Sprawl. Come on. Oh, Misty. All right. Oh, could have just played that. Could have just kept that in hand. This is where not having a card like Trackers just makes the deck kind of blah sometimes. Green. Arbor Elf. All right. Getting the beats in there. Do we have enough mana to play Dragon and Monstrous Hit in the same turn? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 mana? We do. Slave and Drawn, just gas. Not lands, so Manamorphose. Electromancer, sure. Grape Shot, another Grape Shot, okay. Just slowly killing us. Now, I'm going to be very frustrated if I draw an Inferno Titan and then they just play it, kill their Electromancer, and then they just go off the next turn. That's going to be frustrating. Love the chat conversation about Fiery Justice. I love that card. Um, A-Bomb Diggity says, I'm not convinced we need Stony either, although the list posted had 6 sweepers sideboard, and that's too many, so there's room. Modern the mid-ranging says, regardless of how few of them you actually draw, are actually drawing, LOL. Never thought about how good Fiery Justice could be versus Death Shadow, kill their angler, and make them gain 5 life, kill all their shadows, and blow the blowouts. Yep, that's absolutely a line you can take. A-Bomb also says it kills Jace plus Snap, plus your Moon, too. Although I was thinking that Choke might be good in place of an Anger or two. Nomac 1991. Hey Matt, I didn't know you streamed. This is Travis. Hey Travis, how's it going? Travis, Winfield Travis, or a different Travis, or St. Louis Travis. All right, so this has been just like just the battle of the century, where neither of us, like, come on, deck. Yeah, Winfield. Oh, sweet. Yeah, yep, I stream. And I'm streaming more regularly, so. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. So, without the birds, with or without the birds, we're not going to be able to. Let's just go ahead and block here. There's no reason not to. Save ourselves the 2 life. They very well could have another one of those crazy, like, ritual, grape shot kind of things. Oh, my God. These draws have been absolutely horrendous. Floating out, that's never good. Yep. This has been one of the weirdest games against Storm I've ever played, though, so... Stormbolt Dragon, alright. Business time. So, we do have to be cognizant of the fact that we are in attack plus bolt range. So, I actually think we benefit from not attacking with our dragon here, because we run the very real risk of dying, and we could get that bolt out of their hand. So, and then next turn, we're just going to block here. And, hey, Usman the Rad says also Monstrous plus attack probably kills them. Oh, it definitely kills them. Alright, they drew a Past in Flames. So they can Noxious Revival. They're going to Ritual a whole bunch. Great. Yeah, they have this game now. So they're just going to storm off and Grape Shot me to death. It was a valiant effort. Yeah. All right. So, P.S. Hi, Usman says, hi, Usman. I miss cubing with you. So, despite the fact that Blood Moon probably kept us in that game longer than it should have, it is not a very good card. And Trinisphere and Grafdigger's Cage is. So we've got a weird choice here where we're leaning pretty hard on Trinisphere. Like, there's 2 different non-bows we can go with. Either we can take out Bloodbraid Elf for Kitchen Finks and avoid the Trinisphere Bloodbraid Elf non-bow, or we can take out we can worry about the Finks Cage non-bow. There's like the Finks Cage non-bow and the Bloodbraid Elf Trinisphere non-bow. So I think as good as Bloodbraid Elf is here, there is justification for taking it out. Only because, like, it's a threat. It can get blocked by, like, Electromancer trades for it. And it doesn't come down as like the 4 mana versus 3 mana cost is a very real difference. And yeah, it's definitely like not the best. I know I want some number of anger. You definitely want Bolt here because like Bolt plus Trinisphere plus the Cage plus the like land destruction package. Inferno Titan is kind of weak here. So I kind of like boarding that out. Colossus is good here because it just like threatens lethal pretty quickly. I like an anger here. I probably will take out. Let's see. That's going to be the thing. The interesting thing about these Ponza builds going forward is how much does the mana cost matter in Bloodbraid Elf if you're relying on it to be a threat, because that's what like the cool thing about the combo decks is that you basically can manufacture a turn where if you have 3 mana on turn 2, you can easily play a threat and then untap and start disrupting and then attacking with your pressuring them with your threat. Unfortunately, like with Bloodbraid Elf, you know, like it makes those draws a little bit more awkward. So we're gonna actually reduce. We're just gonna test the Bloodbraid Elf here. You want 1 anger. I don't know if you want 2 angers. Like maybe you do. Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're going a little bit more threat light. But we're lowering our curve, so. Alright, so Stormbreath, Elf, Birds, Bloodbraid Elf, and then 3 lands. We're on the play. We don't have a good turn 2 play. We don't have Cage or Trinisphere, so this is a good mulligan. I mean, it's a fine 7 against a lot of other decks, but being that we have like the 6+ Scry, we have access to other stuff. We have access to like slightly marginally better 6. All right, well, Arbor Elf, Utopia Sprawl, Forest, Stomping Ground. We can go turn 3 Dragon. We get a Scry. I don't think. Maybe we reward. So that's the other thing about sideboarding is that like there are these matchups where you're pretty much a dog unless you draw the hate that you need. So you can manufacture, you can sideboard in a way where you lower your curve drastically, which is why I brought out the Titans, so that your mulligans damage you a little bit less, so you can operate on less mana. And Spiker 84 echoes that. I think you want Bloodbraid Elf to find your first hate card better. It lets you keep more hands. Yes, that's absolutely. Unfortunately, as good as this hand is, I don't think it's good enough, and I think we can go to 5. Because like a 5 plus a Trinisphere, like Trinisphere is going to slow them down a lot. So we're going to mulligan. Okay, so fine. Forest, Birds of Paradise, Stone Rain, Communion Colossus. We're just not going to see a stone. We're not going to see one of our 5 sideboard, like powerful sideboard cards against them. So we're going to keep. And we're going to push. So we're going to push. I want to be a little bit more aggressive, being that like we're already not favored. And like if they go land bolt your birds, like we're in a pretty tough spot regardless. To Spartan Homie. Alright, so we're going to play Forest. We drew a Bloodbraid Elf, so maybe we get lucky. So I was BbE in Ponza. I did speculate a bit that Ponza would definitely run it and make it much better. What's your opinion? It seems to be good in Ponza. Whether it makes the deck much better or not is still there's a lot more playing of the deck to determine that. So we didn't draw a land. We don't have double red or a 4th land, so we can't cast any of the stuff in our hand. So we unfortunately have to pass the turn. I definitely think that Bloodbraid Elf made the deck better. Whether it's, like whether we're a quad Bloodbraid Elf deck or what, has yet to be determined. So what, configuration. I've seen two different strategies, 5-0 with the list. So there's definitely, not a consensus for sure. We drew a mountain, so we're going to Bloodbraid Elf into a Utopia Sprawl, sure. We're going to name red. That way we have red post anger. And then we'll attack. So the bad part about having the suite, our suite of hate cards is does not include relic, is cage and. All right, so they're probably just going to go off here. We did what we could. To Spartan Homie says BbE does cascade into your land hate or blood moon if lucky. Yeah, no, that was absolutely a reality that you get. Okay, cool. So awesome. We drew a Trinisphere. So we're going to slow them down quite a bit. They are really prepared for artifact hate. So as I was mentioning earlier, beings that are our sideboard suite is just cage and relic, or cage and Trinisphere. We are not playing relics, so relics don't have an effect on the game once your opponent like Shattering Sprees or Vandal Blasts or whatever artifact removal they have. So we're still going to play, I think we play Trinisphere here. And then next turn we will Anger. Well, we don't really need to Anger because Trinisphere always trumps Barrel and Electromancer no matter how many they have. We have 4 mana, so we can play Colossus. We have double red, so we get to Anger and get rid of the birds to add no real damage to us. Probably sleight of hand, okay. Alright, so we've successfully slowed them down. Barrel, I will not attack. So we have Molten Rain, so we could Anger here or play Colossus. Or play, so if they found an answer to Trinisphere, they can go off. I think I either have to Molten Rain or Anger here. As much as I would like to play the threat, because like if they found an answer for Trinisphere, then they can play it and then go off with the 4th land or the Barrel. So I have to interact with one of those two things, and I think I'd rather interact with the land. Do I want to interact with the land? Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Molten Rain, Steam Vents. Spiker says, well, just get your threat down. Bottom of the mid range, he says, I think you have to Anger here. The birds is irrelevant with your current hand, and the enabler is way too important in this scenario. Spiker says you aren't going to win without the threat down. Nah, that's correct. Maybe I should have just played that and just plied my advantage and just assumed they didn't draw their answer. All right, so they passed, and it could be that they did draw their answer and that it is Wipe Away or Echoing Truth. And I'm just going to Anger here. I'm giving them more time. Huh. I tapped birds for mana and it did not put the mana in my mana pool. Okay, there it goes. I'm gonna anger. I've made no progress. Yeah, that's probably correct. I'm probably playing this incorrectly. Borrow does effectively nothing with Transfer on the board. It does, however, it operates if they... Okay, yeah. They had the Echoing Truth. So, yeah. Spiker says... So, the chat... Molten Rain just puts you in the same position next turn. You've made no progress. You can't play around answers you don't know if they have. It just gives them more draws on it. That is correct. Maybe I just should have played my Colossus. Iced K-Beverage doesn't borrow do effectively nothing with Trinisphere on board. It does, but if they draw an answer, if they drew their answer, they deal with Trinisphere and untap with Baral and then go off. Spiker says somebody hasn't played traditional in forever. Anger is solely for empty once you have Trinisphere out. Yeah, actually that is absolutely correct. I should have just waited. I forgot that Anger was the out for the Empty the Warrens line. Let's see. All right. Borrow. Okay. Foothills. And we'll just play Colossus. Alright, now hopefully they don't have like a second answer and then just go off this turn. That would be unfortunate. I mean, they do have Gifts mana now, which is unfortunate. Alright, Stormbreath Dragon. Fetch. Yeah, we'll just get the double red or the forest here. Storm Breath and attack. So the gift pile is very dangerous. So their gift pile could be Noxious Revival, Shattering Spree, Echoing Truth, Wipe Away. And it kind of doesn't matter what I give them. Well, I guess they can't Noxious Revival for free because they need the you know, they need to pay for the Trinisphere or whatever, so. So let's see. Spiker says Blowing Anger wasn't terrible. It was playing Molten Rain over Colossus the turn before. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. That's probably more of a line. Okay, so we give them well, they can't win with this pile. We give them Noxious Revival and Past in Flames, and then they're stuck with Wipe Away, Echoing Truth, and Spree in their graveyard. And they can't cast 2 spells next turn. So, I mean, had that Past in Flames been, like, maybe they only have access to one Echoing Truth, So maybe that's why they didn't get it as opposed to the Past in Flames, because echoing like this, if Past in Flames is echoing truth, then they definitely can. They definitely can put me in a position where they can get rid of it. So we're gonna put 2 cards in their graveyard. We're gonna put Shattering Spree and Wipe Away in their graveyard. Okay. So, and they have Noxus Revival and Past in Flames in their hand. And as Ice K Beverage and points out, Noxus costs 3, and then Spiker says they also have to block with Burrow. And if they Noxus Revival, they put my dragon in range, basically. Like, I killed them with just my dragon, so they can't Noxus Revival. Yeah, they're actually I think they're actually in a pretty rough spot, because they can't Past in Flames into anything because of Trinisphere. They can't Noxus Revival into anything, into like a Metamorphose to draw said card because of Trinisphere. And if they pay the 2 life, they lose to Dragon. They lose to the Dragon attack. They have to block with Barl. They can't really afford to... Yeah, I think I have this game. Three in Noxus Revival. Maybe they didn't understand how Noxus Revival interacts with Trinisphere, and that's why they did that. But yep, I mean, Trinisphere, you have to always pay the 3 ball it's due. It always costs 3. Yep. Always costs 3. They're trying to figure it out. This is great. They have figured out that they cannot pay one of their mana. Like, they have just now figured out that... Okay, so they're ritualing. And cycling a Metamorphose. Is it possible they're going to try to just storm up? I mean, it's possible that they just try to storm up a bunch of goblins now that they can't, now that they know that I don't have anger, and punish us that way. So that is one of the lines that you have to prepare for when you're playing a game that relies on Trinisphere, is that against Storm they can. Cool. So they're just going to Grape Shot the Storm Breath Dragon. So what did they Noxus? Did they Noxus Revival? Plays. They did not Noxus Revival. Okay. Okay, cool. So actually, we get to... So, thing is, if they have Bolt here, they get to destroy... They get to kill our Colossus. No, they can't, because they have Trinisphere in play. So, we're just going to attack with Colossus. Block. Okay. And then we will Molten Rain them to keep them off of 2 possible spells next turn. No, but yeah, so as I was saying, you have to remember that their line under Trinisphere is like cycle a bunch of rituals and then cast an empty for a bunch. So that's also something, I mean, you have to kind of prepare for. Do I want more Angers? Is that... No, I have 2. I think that's fine. I don't think I want Titan. Maybe Bloodbraid Elf is better than Dragon here, actually. And that, like, it gives me another hate card. I mean, they can kill Bloodbraid Elf a little bit easier, but... Modern the Mid-Ranging asks a good question. What other matchups does Trinisphere come in for? So, you want it against Elves, against Bogles, against Burn, against Storm, against Ad Nauseam, Living End, and... what else? I think you want it against Grixis Shadow, only because it's better than like a Stone Rain and can have like a pretty profound effect on their game plan. So that's the short list of where you want Trinisphere. It's basically for any of the combo decks because it interacts with. So for example, if you're playing against Grishelbrand, they have to pay 3 for Goryo's Vengeance, and then if they want a Nourishing Shoal, they have to pay 3 for it as well. If they want to cascade into Living End, that means that they need 6 mana. If they want to keep... we've got Forest, Birds, Elf, Bolt, Birds, Trinisphere. All right. If they want to... against... It's a little bit... It's good against... So that's the weird part. It's good against Burn players. Sometimes they bring in Destructive Revelry, so you have to like plan for that. So they're very much holding up Bolt mana. So this is probably not. This Bird is probably not long for. Oh no. All right. So they have Remand mana, and I think I want to. So here's the thing: they can Remand Trinisphere, then play their Dork, and then go off. I have 2 bolts. How do I best play around Remand in this spot? Next turn. I mean, they'll still have Remand regardless of what I play. I mean, if I don't play Trinisphere, they'll still have Remand. So we'll go with Trinisphere here. Remand. And then they can go like Reducer, land, go off. No opt-in response. Okay, cool. But yeah, so the Burn, it's good against them because it slows them down, but some Burn players will bring in Destructive Revelry, others will not. So it just kind of depends. It gives them an additional target, like also Courser in the same vein gives them an additional target for Destructive Revelry. But some people are like, well, if they land a Blood Moon, because most Burn players know that we're going to play Blood Moon against them, but they just understand that like if we land it, it's just going to... like if we land the Blood Moon, we're just going to play it. We're just going to... they're just going to be off Destructive Revelry anyway. Okay, so our best shot right here is... Being that we don't have double red, we can't like Stone Rain and hold up Bolt. We're going to just Bloodbraid Elf and hope. Sure, Lightning Bolt them. Attack for 3. Sleight of hand. They're a little low on cards. And they're when they board in their hate and they draw their like answers, that means that they're diluting their combo slightly. So it's more important than usual for them to have a bunch more cards in their hand. Yeah, and A-Bomb Diggity says Bogles. I've never tried it there. GDS I only like it on the play. Yeah, Trinisphere can be good against Bogles. You just have to be careful because like if you want both Blood Moon and Trinisphere, you have to remember that you're bringing in a bunch of do nothing cards that can not affect the board, so that can just lose you the game. So we are going to attack for 3 here. We can Stone Rain or hold up Bolt. I honestly don't think it matters much at this point. I think I'd rather just hold up Bolt for their reducer, as that will give them more mana than one of their lands will. I still haven't figured out exactly when to cast Bolt, but I think it's in response to the first ritual. Yeah, being that they don't have any red mana, they can't they can't Manamorphose or ritual for a whole bunch more mana. So we're no wait, cancel. I gotta undo red. They created a good spot for me, so they can remand it. They got remand. Unsubstantiate, okay. Sure, that's fine. And we'll just F6. Modern in the mid-range says after their first spell. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it can be. So we're gifts, okay. See, one card in hand. 3 mana. Modern in the mid-range says probably dead now. Yep, I am probably dead now. We're gonna give them. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, I guess. I mean, we can give them Past in Flames and one of the rituals, and hopefully they keep them off a little velocity. I mean, they also get to, they have that Unsubstantiate in their yard, so they can just cast Grape Shot with Unsubstantiate. No, it doesn't matter. I mean, Modern Mid-Range says don't give them the ritual there. I mean, it doesn't matter what I give them, because if I put Past in Flames in the yard and give them if I put Past in Flames in their hand, they can still cast it. If I put it in the yard, I have to give them the card that gives them to mana to be able to flash it back. So it doesn't matter. So, and then they Grape Shot, and then I wonder if they have like another Grape Shot here. No, they can flash back Past in Flames. Sure. Okay. Varianced Out says if they have 3 floating after a gifts with Baron play, you are literally always dead. Yeah. I mean, barring I don't know, some situations, I guess. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to take a break. I may be back later tonight. Stay tuned. Pay attention, please. I would definitely appreciate any follows and subscriptions, both on YouTube. All of my streams most of my streams, like my archive-worthy streams, will be archived on YouTube. The link is on my page, or right down below. As well, follow me on Twitter. Keep up with all my happenings. I'm on the Journey to the Pro tour. I'm trying to basically become a better magician. In all different ways, so I'm going to stream all sorts of tournament formats: draft, limited, legacy, standard, modern, some, and then some vintage and legacy. So, but yes, crush those subscribe and follow buttons. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great night.